The Iran-Israel conflict intensifying day by day. While Israel enjoys strong backing from Western powers, Iran stands increasingly isolated on the global stage. The conflict was initiated by Israeli airstrikes targeting Iranian positions, and Iran has since been responding in defense. However, it appears that Iran is running out of strategic options. Unlike Israel, which has been granted access to fly over the airspaces of countries like Jordan and Syria, Iran faces significant restrictions. Several regional powers are denying Iran the use of their airspace, limiting its ability to respond effectively. Tensions in the region are rapidly increasing, and now as the pressure mounts and its options narrow, Tehran issues a warning: it may block the Strait of Hormuz. This is not just a bold political statement, it's a direct threat to the heart of the global energy supply. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the world's most critical choke points, a narrow 33 kilometers wide passage through which nearly 20 million barrels of oil passes every single day. That's almost 20% of the world's daily oil supply. This isn't a wild or irrational threat. It's calculated. Iran views the Israeli attacks as existential. In its view, closing Hormuz would shift pressure onto Israel's allies, especially the West, by disrupting global oil supply. It's a signal to the world: escalate the conflict further and your fuel, your economy, and your stability is at risk. So let's talk numbers. Brent crude oil is currently trading at around $77 per barrel, already up nearly 20% in June because of the rising tensions. But if Iran actually blocks Hormuz, analysts warn price could shoot up to $100 and even $150 per barrel. That's nearly double the current price, and the consequences wouldn't take long to reach your wallet. Let's break it down in everyday terms. One barrel of oil contains about 159 liters. At $77 per barrel, that's roughly 48 cents per liter at the refinery gate. But at $150 per barrel, you are looking at about 94 cents per liter, almost double. But oil doesn't reach you directly from the ground. It has to be refined, shipped, taxed, and sold at a profit. So at today's crude price, you are paying about £1 to £1.20 per litre at the pump in the UK. But if the price doubles to $150 a barrel, expect that the number to jump to 1.80 to even £2 per litre. For a typical 50 litres family car, that's an increase from around £55 to as much as 90 or £100 per tank. A jump of 30 to £45, and that change could hit just days after blockade begins. So why is this small stretch of water so powerful? The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea. It's only sea route for exporting the oil from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, and Qatar. Though it's 33 kilometers wide, only two narrow channels, each about 2 miles across, are deep enough for giant oil tankers. In other words, it's a massive traffic jam waiting to happen if someone drops a single roadblock. And Iran has the tools to do it. First, it could lay sea mines. Iran has sophisticated naval mines designed to be hard to detect. Just a few could paralyze the shipping lanes. Second, Iran could launch missiles or drone attacks from its southern coast, where it has built up a large missiles infrastructure. Third, it could jam communications and GPS system. Tactics is used before to confuse ships or cause them to drift off course. Now, has anything like this happened before? Yes. During the Iran-Iraq war in the 1980s, both sides attacked each other's oil tankers in what becomes known as the Tanker War. The US had to escort reflagged Kuwaiti tankers under the American protection. Again, in 2019, after attacks on tanks near Hormuz, oil prices spiked and military presence surged. If Iran follows through today, the US Fifth Fleet based in Bahrain would immediately mobilize. Minesweeping ships, aircraft carriers, and destroyers would patrol the Gulf. Oil tankers would likely need armed escorts. The risk of miscalculations or military escalations would be dangerously high. One missile fired the wrong way could ignite a broader regional conflict. Diplomatically, the UN Security Council would go into emergency mode. Western powers would threaten sanctions or military action. Countries like Oman or Qatar might step in as a neutral negotiator to calm the waters, quite literally. But could the oil just be rerouted? Not easily. Saudi Arabia has an east-west pipeline that bypasses the Gulf and leads to the Red Sea. But it can only handle a small fraction of the volume. The UAE has a pipeline to the port of Fujairah that avoids Hormuz. Again, limited capacity. Altogether, these alternative routes only cover about 10 to 15% of what usually goes through Hormuz. There is no real backup. So what would the economic fallout look like? Massive. Countries that rely on imported oils like India, South Korea, Japan, and even parts of Europe would immediately feel the crunch. Energy costs would surge, inflation would spike. In the US, higher gas prices would hit consumers' spending, transport costs would rise, food prices would go up, plastic would become more expensive. Everything that depends on oil would be affected. Central banks would face a tough choice: either raise interest rates to combat inflation and risk recession, or keep rates low and watch prices spiral. There is no easy fix. The short-term government response would be to release oil from strategic reserves, like the US Strategic Petroleum Reserves, but that's a temporary bandage, not a solution. In the long term, countries would accelerate their push for energy independence, investing in renewables, domestic oil protections, and alternative routes. But make no mistake, a closure of the Strait of Hormuz, even for just a few days, would be global crisis. A 33-kilometer channel could bring the world's economy to its knees. So ask yourself, if oil prices doubled overnight, how would your daily life change? Would you still drive as often? Could your business survive? What should government be doing now to prepare for its possibility?